So as you guys know, we just installed the full exhaust on the Vette. I'm waiting to get it tuned. In order for me to get it tuned, I have to install a wideband sensor just so the tuner knows the air-fuel ratio and everything. My buddy's on the way over. He's gonna weld in a bung on the headers for me. I gotta pull the Supra out and I'm gonna move the Vette into the middle of the garage just so I can jack it up and get under the car. So ignore the bumper and the headlights being off. These wheels are not mine. I'm borrowing them from a buddy. Same with the rears. I sold my wheels, so I needed to just have some spares to put the car on and move it around if I had to. So these are not my wheels, do not judge me. There's like an inch of dust. Poor car. I'm gonna bring this thing back. I'm gonna bring this thing back really, really soon. I miss driving it. The weather's starting to cool down. So I think it's time to put this thing back together and get it back on the road and doing some content and some stuff with it. All right, first startup in 2 months. Let's see how she does, or if she'll start even at all. And the battery's dead. Nice. Really? I do not like the clutch in this car anymore. After driving that thing. Oh, hey, you're still filming? Mm-hmm. Hey, how you doing? Got the car in the middle. I will say, I love having the Supra, but man, it would be nice to have this much room to work on this car. All right, fast forward a couple of days. The gauge just got delivered. I already unboxed it and looked at everything, made sure everything was in there. The one that I ended up going with is the AEM 30-0334. Was recommended to me by a couple of people as well as the tuner himself. It comes with this pretty cool little adapter harness. It plugs right into the OBD2 port, and then the HP tuner software plugs in on the other end, and it sends the AFR data straight to the software. Makes it a lot easier for the tuner to check it out and everything. Adapter harness, little extender harness. So it plugs into the back of the gauge there, and then this plugs into the end of the O2 sensor, which is this little guy. The Bosch LSU 4.9 typical wideband sensor. Comes with the gauge itself. This thing is gonna be useless to me because I am actually putting the gauge inside of the glove box. I'm not really a fan of the gauge being visible. I don't like the look of gauges inside of interiors. Just not my thing. Got the car jacked up. Got the swamp cooler going. I am a little bit worried about how it's gonna sit because we did kind of weld it at a downward angle, just a little bit. Let me throw that in really quick, and if need be, I will unbolt those 2 clamps on the piping right off of the headers, and I'll just rotate it up just a little bit just to get that angle of the sensor a little bit more straight and not pointed straight to the ground. So I'm just looking at where I can run this wire to. So you can have the wiring just go up and pass right through the plate that covers the torque tube and run it right into the shifter. I don't really feel like dismantling my interior and pulling the whole center console out and everything. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to run it alongside of the bell housing and the headers and kind of up around the starter. I don't know yet. Let me go from up top and see how much room I have to play with. Yeah, 100%, this is the route that I'm gonna take. If you can see the stock O2 sensor line, it comes up from the headers right there, and it kind of just goes up, zip tied it to one of the AC lines and just around the back of the head and into the plug. So I don't know if you can see it, but that is the plug for the wideband. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug it in right there. I'm gonna run it along the side of the headers and up the side of the motor past the starter. plug it in right there and run it up kind of in the similar way that I run the stock O2 sensors. And there's actually a passage behind this battery. There's like a grommet in the firewall. I'm gonna pass it through that grommet and just right into the glove box because that's where I want it anyways. So that actually kind of works out perfectly. So let me plug that in really quick. I'm going to pull the battery out so I can get to that little grommet, and then we'll run it inside the car and kind of just go from there. Got the battery out. Now I'm able to get and see everything. And this is the grommet that I was talking about. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a little slit right alongside of this wiring harness right here and just pull the wires through. So let me just trace that really quick, and then we'll come back up here and start feeding this harness through this grommet right here so we can plug it into the gauge inside the glove box. I gave up. I did put a little slit right here with the razor blade to try and feed the wire through like that, but I kept hitting, I don't know what I was hitting, and I don't want to start digging in there with a bunch of wires. So what I did is I stuck a screwdriver at the bottom and I kind of just pushed it through all the way to the other side, kind of pulled it, gave it a little gap, and then stuffed the wire through. So the wire's through. It's not through the actual grommet. It's like through the bottom of the thing. Fed the wire all the way through. I found it. I started pulling it through. This is the wire right here. But you can see where it comes out at. So that's the little grommet right there. So now that I got everything from the outside of the car inside that needs to be inside, I'm gonna try and figure out how I'm gonna run this wire all the way up through the dash and then have it pop out right up there so I can just run it into the glove box. So I got this little fuse adapter. It's for a 10 amp fuse. I'm going to connect the 12 volt switched from the gauge into this end and crimp it on. And then this is gonna stick in the fuse box. I'm probably gonna end up using this fuse right here, this 10 amp up top. If you look on the little thing, it's the seat heater fuse, which is only on when the ignition is turned on. So I'm gonna pop that 10 amp fuse out, stick this in there, and then I'll stick the fuse into this little block right there. And then I should have 12 volts switched for the gauge. All right, now for the adapter part of the harness. Obviously this is gonna plug into your OBD2 port underneath the dash. And once that's in, you're gonna have to send both of these onto the other side of the car. What I just discovered is if you peel back the carpet just a little bit on both sides, you can see that there is a slight, you can see that little light shining through right there. You should be able to fish this straight through. It's a straight shot. So let me feed these wires through and then pull them out on the other side, make sure everything's good. You know what they say, if it works, it ain't stupid. So I got all the wires from this side of the car with the OBD2 port on the other side of the transmission tunnel. Let me show you how I did it. So I took a wire hanger and I broke it off and kind of straightened it out. And I stuck it all the way through to the other side of the transmission tunnel. So I fed the hanger all the way across and I taped up the harness for the gauge, and I just pulled this through, just like that. Well, it's stuck now, but you get the idea. So if you don't want to rip up the whole center console and everything, best way to do it. So I got the OBD2 connector plugged in, and I got the wires running through the dash over the trans tunnel, and they both pop out right here. And like I said, I wanted to put the gauge in the dash because I don't want it to be seen. So I have these two wires right here, and I have them running up a little slit right in the corner behind the glove box, and they go up and they pop out right here. And so the two wires with the connector are coming out right here, which should be able to go straight into the glove box. And then the same thing with this one. This is the connector that goes to the sensor itself. What I did was I have it running. I don't know if you can see this wire right here. I fed the wire between these two plastic pieces right here, kind of pushes up. And then I have it going up. Then I have it going up right here. It feeds itself out of this little tiny slit in the metal. So both going through the dash and out to the glove box. So I'm just gonna coil them up and zip tie them, and then I'll stick the gauge in there. I have the connector for the power and the ground. I have it running through the carpet, around, and then you can see it right there. Kind of just put it behind here. And so the ground wire I'm gonna connect to this little bolt right here with an eyelet, and then the 12 volt switched. I actually found out that I got the wrong adapter. This doesn't fit in there. I'm gonna have to order a new one off Amazon. But once that gets in, I'm gonna plug that in, put this 10 amp fuse right there inside of it, and then I will splice that wire that comes off of it to this power wire. So ground here, power wire connected to that 10 amp, which is switched 12 volt for the seat heater, and put the glove box back on, and I should be good to go. So we're pretty much done with the install. I got the OBD2 port plugged in right there, got the wires running across the trans tunnel. Open the glove box. You can see those two wires coming in right here on the left side, and then the wire to the sensors on the right side. Got the bundle of wires kind of just zip tied in here. Nobody's gonna see them, I don't really care, so they're gonna stay in there hidden. Got the AFR gauge right here, and so if we hit the power, the gauge should turn on. Boom. It's heating up, give it a second. And that's it. Once we fire the car up, the gauge should be reading properly. Don't forget to calibrate it. Easiest way to do it, go over to ACAL, click select. It's configuring. Boom, there it is. You're done. So that's gonna do it for me in this video. I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned something. If you're installing something like this on your C6 and you're having troubles, feel free to leave a comment, shoot me a message on Instagram. I'm always willing to help. I'm not a Corvette expert by any means, but I've built enough cars to where I kind of got an idea. So I'm always willing to help in that aspect. So take care, stay safe, live fast. We'll see you in the next one.